Right, for the very first book review, I had to go for this book. I didn't want to go like too far back with the book reviews, so all the ones from now on will be sort of as I read them, but this one I read a couple of books ago, but I had to share it because I did a book review for this on TikTok and I could have talked for hours about this book because it is hands down one of the best books that I have read this year. I should actually say what the book is. So it was Brother by Ania Ahlborn. I actually went into this book believing that I was reading a extreme horror book, and it is not an extreme horror book. Like, I don't know where the people who read this and said it was an extreme horror got that idea from, because it is definitely not. It's a psychological thriller. There are some elements in it that are probably quite uneasy to read, but there's nothing graphic in there. It's very much alluded to most of the time, but if you are a little bit sensitive or there's certain things that you don't want to read about, I do recommend checking out like the content warnings for it. However, I didn't think it was particularly that bad or that graphic, but I don't have all that much that like triggers me that I find bad anyway. So, Brother, Ania Ahlborn, let's get into it. I will say I'll do like I do this on TikTok, so I'll do like an overview that is completely spoiler free, and then I will give plenty of warning that we're going to move on to some spoilers. So if you do want to stop the video at that point, like, feel free. If not, we will just continue and talk about the book with some spoilers in there. So Brother focuses on the Morrow family, and they live like out in the middle of nowhere and on like this remote farm, and no one ever really bothers with them. They don't really interact with anyone in the town or anything like that, which is a good thing because what goes down on the Morrow farm definitely needs to be kept secret. So Mum has a... I'm just thinking how to... See, this is the thing with like books like this, is how to word it without like upsetting or offending someone. Mum has a hobby for offing girls, and all the girls, it turns out later in the book, like, this is not a spoiler, all the girls sort of look like what Mum did when she was young. And there becomes a reason for that that you do find out later in the book as to why Mum is probably the way that she is. But anyway, the whole family's in on this. It's a family affair. The two sons, Michael and Rebel, Rebel is also called Ray. Ray is his real name, but he changed it to Rebel. So Michael and Rebel basically kidnap these girls and bring them back to the farm, and Mum has a good time with them. And then Michael does all the aftercare, shall we say, and it is implied, it's never explicitly said, it is implied that these girls do not go to waste once they are no longer on this earth. Mum cooks them up in a stew, so yeah. Anyway, Michael does not really like this family business. He does it out of loyalty to his family. Michael's a little bit naive, not very world wise, perhaps a little bit mentally challenged. So he goes along with it out of loyalty and because he feels like he's sort of forced to do it by his mum and his brother. But he doesn't particularly enjoy it and he wants a life away from the Morrow farm. Then Rebel and Michael meet two girls at a record store in town, and Rebel starts dating one of the girls and Michael starts dating the other one. Michael's never had a girlfriend before and is suddenly seeing the opportunity to have this normal life that he's dreamed of, but is also very aware that things could go terribly wrong when Rebel's involved. And lots of things happen that, if we're going to keep this spoiler free, I can't really talk about, and it's just very bleak. It's not a happy book by any stretch of the imagination. Like, it's very heavy going, and despite the fact, like, the sort of things that Michael does, you do end up feeling very, very sorry for Michael and the life that he's got and what happens to him later in the book. You definitely need a palate cleanser of a book afterwards, because it's just got a very bleak ending, a very sad ending, and it's all in all just not a very happy book at all. And that is about as much as I can say about it. Like, we can't discuss the ending at all without me giving away any spoilers, which obviously, if you don't really want to know any, I don't want to do. However, stop here if you do not want spoilers. Like, I am giving you plenty of warning. Turn the video off if you do not want spoilers, because we are now going to discuss more details of the book, and it is going to include spoilers. You have been warned. So, we know all the details of the morrows. These two girls that Rebel and Michael are dating, the girl that Rebel is dating very much fits with the look of the girls that Mum likes. So Michael's already a little bit suspicious. However, Alice, the girl that he's dating, doesn't fit that mould at all. But Michael gets even more worried about this, because they tend to sort of, like, unless it's just a random girl that they're taking off the side of the road, they sort of tend to stake out their victims a little bit. Like, it's very well planned. It's not a random act most of the time. So Rebel and Michael start staking out this woman who does not fit the mould of their normal victims, like, in any way, shape or form. She's a lot older than all of the other victims. And Michael can't understand why Rebel would go for a woman like that, and he doesn't think Mum will be happy about it. But they're staking out this woman, they have been doing for quite some time, and then they kidnap her, take her back to the farm, and as we know, if you're at the Morrow farm, you're not getting away. So this woman, this older woman, is gone. And Michael does all the things, and they have her in a stew that night. And Michael, like I say, it's never explicitly said that that is what they're doing, but it's very heavily implied, and Rebel's all like, oh Michael, you should have second helpings. To which Michael does, because he can't say no to his brother. Like, his brother is one of the worst characters that you will ever read about. Rebel is pure evil. And Michael just wants to please him. He just wants to be a brother to Rebel and to please him. And that all stems from the fact that Michael is not blood related to the Morrows. So Michael is adopted, and he knows he is, but he doesn't know the actual full tale of what happened. So when Michael was 4 years old, he was on the side of the road. He had a house, he had a home, he had a family, and Rebel and his father were driving past, and Rebel got this idea of, let's kidnap this child and take him home. Michael believes it's because his family abandoned him and didn't love him anymore, so he feels like a sense of loyalty to the Morrows, that they saved him, even though that's not what really happened. So he has second helpings of this stew with the woman in it, and they sort of get on with all their things, with dating these two women and things like that. And then Michael, like, sort of back and forth between telling Alice that she just needs to disappear, she needs to go, she can't be around him, and then sort of running away with her. One evening he goes back to the farm, and Rebel has tricked the two girls into believing that they're attending a birthday party for Michael. And when he gets back into the farmhouse, Michael is greeted with both girls tied up and Rebel threatening to off them. And obviously Michael goes into this mass panic that his girlfriend and her best friend are about to die. Alice is then locked up in the cellar where they normally lock the women up, and like sort of prolong the suffering. And Rebel sends Michael out on a little task to discover what all of this is about. So he sends him back to the house of the older woman that they kidnapped, and it transpires that the woman, to make it worse, he sees another photo with Alice in it, and quickly puts 2 and 2 together to work out that Alice is actually his blood-related sister. The girl he has been dating and wanted to run away with is related to him, and now locked up in the cellar back at the farm. So he's driving like a madman back to the farm, thinking like, I just need to get rid of them all. Like, this Alice is going to hate me for life now, but I just need to get her off the farm and get rid of all the Morrows. He goes on a mass rampage. Mum and Dad are gone. He's waiting for Rebel. He eventually finds Rebel. There's like some big fight between Michael, Alice and Rebel. Rebel's gone. Then it's just Michael and Alice left, and he's trying to help her, but obviously Alice does not want anything to do with this. But I should point out, before Rebel is gone, he makes it very clear to Alice what happened to her mother and who Michael actually is. Alice is also having an absolute meltdown at this point as well. And then it's just between Alice and Michael, but she stabs Michael. So now Michael's practically bleeding out. Alice is the same, and the book ends with Alice reaching the car and Michael realising that the keys to the car are still in his pocket, and then the book ends, heavily implying that Alice and Michael also die on the Morrow farm. I told you it was a wild ride and a bleak ending, but in all honesty, it is one of the best psychological thrillers that I have ever read. Like, I could not put this down. I absolutely loved this book, which is why it had to be my first review. I just could not get enough of it. It was so good, so heartbreaking, so bleak. It was perfection, and I really need to read some more Ania Ahlborn books now, because if they're all that good, then boy am I in for a treat. I'd love to know if you've read Brother. I would love to know if you plan on reading Brother after this, and just let me know your thoughts in the comments about this absolutely fantastic book. And yeah, that is all for today. I will see you guys next time.